You are here. As you stand on the corner of Rockton and Custer, you have the Fellows farmhouse across on the northeast corner where Helen and Fred Peggle lived. Then there was Clara Faulkner's on the northwest corner. And then there is the house that is boarded up, but you don't know who lived there once. It may be in the city directory, which you check often, but if they didn't have kids, you wouldn't know much about them because that is how you got to know the neighborhood. All these houses behind Rockton Avenue were built later, you can tell because of the style. They're bungalows. You can find out about the Faulkners online. Mrs. Anna F. Faulkner, 92, 1004 North Rockton Avenue, died at 7:05 p.m. Wednesday, December 15, 1954, in her home after a long illness. Born July 26, 1862, in Rockford, daughter of Robert and Mary Lang, lived all her life in Rockford, married to William Faulkner in Rockford in June 1879. Survivors include 4 sons, George, William, Arthur, and Oliver, all of Rockford, 6 daughters, Mrs. Ann Olson, Clara Faulkner, both of Rockford, Mrs. Etta O'Brien, Bellflower, California, Mrs. Fanny Hancock, Alumbra, California, Mrs. Frances Jones, Porterville, California, Mrs. Eva Thompson, Pasadena, California, 11 grandchildren, and several great-grandchildren. You told me sometimes when you were sick, your parents would take you to her daughter Clara, who was a nurse. If you search for her, you can find. Clara was born July 23, 1891, in Rockford, Winnebago, Illinois, and died January 2, 1973, same place. She was a nurse and took care of her mother. You can find much about Helen Peggle. She was Fellows' granddaughter. She grew up and lived in the house that's now numbered 2005. She wrote in the Register Star. At the Rockford Public Library, you can find an article about her titled Helen Peggle to continue popular Sesqui articles. The article reads, one memory plays tag with another as Helen Peggle recollects Rockford, and especially Rockton Avenue, which she was known for over a half-century. Most of my recollections are personal, petite Miss Peggle said, and I laugh my head off as I think of them. The Peggles moved back to Rockford from Dubuque, Iowa, when Helen was a year old. They moved into the house her grandfather, John Fellows, had bought. From the vantage point of this house, built at the time Illinois became a state, she watched Rockton Avenue become lined with buildings and Rockford stretch its boundaries. There were all farms north and south of here, she said. There wasn't any West High School over there or clinic there, or the hospital or Americana nursing home. And Kirk King lived where the Lutheran church is. Helen Peggle did cancer research for 16 years. Mice she worked with developed encephalitis. She contracted the same disease and recovered but had to stop working. Then she started writing Rockford Recollections.
The word Winnebago was recorded in 1766, referring to the Siouan people of eastern Wisconsin, from the Potawatomi Winnepequa, meaning literally person of dirty water. This was possibly due to the muddy or fish-clogged waters of the Fox River below Lake Winnebago. It was also used from 1966 to name a type of motor vehicle. Source: Online Etymology Dictionary. Other sources attest Winnebago comes from Ojibwe, from Winnebago, Winnebago person, coming from Winnipeg, murky water, or Lake Winnipeg. From Winnie, to make someone dirty, Winnad, it is dirty, plus Nebi, water, plural Nebeg, waters. Source: Wikipedia Wiktionary. The word Ho-Chunk, as the Ho-Chunk people name themselves, can be explained as either big boys or big fish, where Ho would be a homonym. The translation of big really means ancestral or primordial. At the time of French contact, the Ho-Chunk constituted a Siouan island among Algonquian-speaking neighbors such as the Menominee, Ojibwe, Ottawa, and others. Source: Milwaukee Public Museum. The Ho-Chunk people were forced out of Illinois in the early 1800s and pushed west to Wisconsin and Minnesota. However, there is evidence of their presence in the names that we preserve. In 1929, the U.S. government signed a treaty at Prairie du Chien with the Winnebago Indian tribe. One of the provisions grants a section of land to several individuals, generally children of fur traders and their Indian wives. One of these was Catherine Myatt. These land grants were known as Indian floats because they could be used to select any piece of property not already settled. Source: Neighborhood Association of Churchill Grove. Later in 1836, Winnebago County was created, carved out of Joe Davis County. Nicholas Bolven purchased an Indian float from Catherine Myatt. He used it to select a section of land that included part of what it is now the Edgewater neighborhood. Bolven platted a town there that he named Winnebago and tried to have it named the county seat. He sold lots and blocks to settlers and other land speculators. Source: Edgewater Neighborhood Association. Bolven was a 19th century American frontiersman, fur trader, and U.S. Indian agent. He was the first appointed agent to the Winnebagos, as well as the Sauk and Fox, and one of the earliest pioneers to settle in present-day Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. His daughter, Catherine Bolven Myatt, also a Métis, by her father's marriage to a Ho-Chunk woman, became prominent as a cultural mediator with early settlers in the next wave in the American era in Wisconsin. Source: Wikipedia.